Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Brahmanandam Param Sukhadam Kevalam Jnanam Murtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamasya Laksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Triguna-rahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Om. Adoration Sadguru, who is Brahman, the giver of supreme bliss, embodiment of pure consciousness, one without a second, vast as the ether, infinite, eternal, beyond the three gunas and their modifications, the supreme preceptor. Yoga Vasistha, Stithi Prakarana, section 59. Sage Vasishtha continues to enlighten Rama, turning his mind to God realization, to liberation. Sri Vasishtha continued, O Rama, this world cannot yield anything more than the enjoyments of the five senses. Considered good news, bad news. Good news, this world will give you varieties of things to help your five senses to sport, to enjoy, and to dance around. For practical illustration, look at the animal world. They are working mostly on the basis of their senses. And what a vast world it is. World of thrill, world of excitement, world of jumping from one branch to another. A world that is not highlighted by mental stress. That's the benefit the animals have. The mind works, but not the way human mind. So they don't want to hold on to stress. And when there is a pleasant situation, they don't spoil it by remembering from the past. So that's the world of five senses. For the dull-wit mind, it is a very exciting world. It's so vast, and life is so short. And that's the only emptiness people feel. If they had lived longer, they would have gone to many other hotels. Taken trips to many exciting places, met exciting people. So I'm just giving you an elaboration, leading to understand that all this has no substance. How much pleasure you enjoy, and all your experiences of pleasure and pain, if your life is confined only to the senses, that is not life. Again, to elaborate further within your own mind, think of What happens if one of the five senses doesn't work or become completely defective? This whole vast world is only in 5 stages. 1/5 of the world goes away if one of your senses become dull completely. 2 senses gone, 2/5 of the world have gone away. Any more you don't have to imagine. Should a person stay satisfied with this type of experience? Those who are contented with perishable objects, now hear the scolding from Vasishtha. They are no better than birds and animals. Because what's the difference? We are pashu, like all countless animals, birds. Those who consider the objects of the world real and seek pleasure from them are like donkeys in their dullness. Heavier the load, the donkey doesn't realize it is crushing on its neck. Considering the objects to be real, that turns you into a donkey state. You are dunked into a miserable state of bearing the burden of countless worries and anxieties. Now, further elaboration, human mind looks for 3 stages of happiness. During the state of ignorance, mind does not turn Godwards, it turns dogwards, turns towards the world. And when you turn towards the world, your happiness has 3 grades. Things that are dear to you, from a very distance you look at it, a little spark of happiness comes. How dear, dear. Sanskrit word is priya. You work hard, come close to the source of your happiness, human relatives, or anything else, animals, birds, anything, any possession. When you come close to the object of your happiness, now you are a little happier than before, just not dear, dear, but soft dear. You begin to hug the deer. And third stage, you become deeply involved in a relationship. Or the idea that now you have possessed the object, that gives you pramod. So you have 3 grades of happiness: priya, mod, pramod. In every project. But in all 3 stages, the mind goes on creating complex psychology, things are dear, then the mind goes after it. How can I possess it? Where it is? It collects all the data. Now this object, person, whomsoever has been brought, you have planned a lot, you did hard, and there is a closeness. But how to secure that closeness? Mind works hard in that direction. And then you come to a state of illusion that you are at the joy. You have possessed the object, you have enjoyed the object. And Vasishtha again scolds. What's there in the body of woman or man? I added man to it. Except some blood, flesh, fat and hair. Those who therefore seek happiness in passionate indulgence are subhuman beings, they are animals. Indulgence and etc. itself is not being condemned, but purposeless indulgence, living a life just for pleasure, if pleasure has a purpose behind it, that's a different matter. Then you can study what's the degree of pleasure and what's the degree of purpose fulfillment. If pleasure is fulfilling your purpose of your evolution, it's perfectly in the right order. But if pleasure is not fulfilling your purpose, but dunking you to donkey state, then that pleasure is the most miserable, cursed development in life. But then everyone is hooked to it, and one has to, with exercise one's vivek, understanding, one has to come under good association. One must recognize the impurities, and one must try to remove them, sublimate them. That should be the healthy way, spiritually healthy way of living your life. But living just for pleasure, writing the diary, all the things we have eaten, then writing your dreams, how many things you want to eat next week. Then opening the Google, how many things are there edible and most exciting. Going into a library that has millions of food books. I've just given you a big extension. That is not life. Simple point, mind doesn't understand that you cannot be with your physical body for eternity. Your physical body is very short-lived. Even while you live with your body is not always with you. It's not body. It plays very deceptive games. All pottery is nothing but clay. What does it imply? All bodies are nothing but bones and blood and all those things. All trees are nothing but wood. All bodies are nothing but composite flesh, blood and bones. This world is constituted of nothing but the 5 sense perceptions. Though real to the ignorant, this world is unreal to the wise. Unreal means deep down you are not holding on to the illusion that you will live with the world forever. You are not holding on to the illusion that that's your goal. But you begin to understand that the world is being experienced through your mind and senses. But mind and senses are not you. Say, for example, you are experiencing colorful world through a colorful glasses. And colorful world has created lots of sentiments in your mind. But the entire colorful world is nothing but your glasses. That's not you. The more thought of worldly enjoyments creates delusion in the mind, called Vishaya Chintan, day by day, because there's no other choice. People always keep their mind busy, recalling things that gave you pleasure, and dreaming if those things will come again, how wonderful it will be. So mind being involved with objects of pleasure in relation to past, present and future. And if perchance mind moves towards worshipping God, the first stage mind is lured by the temptation. You will have more enjoyment if you go after your Ishtadevata. You please him and ask whatever you want, he will go on giving you. So in the beginning, mind turns towards God. That again is sages play tricks. And good karmas in you play tricks. Good karmas bring you in conjunction with saintly personalities without your knowing it. Now coming to, if you didn't have that chance, your mind simply wastes all its time in Vishaya Chintan. Vishaya Chintan doesn't always mean you are thinking of pleasures. When you are thinking of painful experiences, that also is Vishaya Chintan. You are thinking of your own body condition, which engrosses human mind. That also is Vishaya Chintan. If you are thinking of anything with purpose, then that's a different matter. But you are simply bringing to your mind to keep the mind vexed, then it is a weakness. Allow a little room in your mind for japa, prayer, relaxation, yoga nidra. Let me now give you the Gita's statement. What Vishaya Chintan does, dhyayato vishayan punsa, sangasteshu upajayate. As you go on thinking of objects, that becomes your reality. And I have already given you the understanding, thinking of objects, thinking of anything negative, thinking of any deluded expectation. If human mind has not been led to experience higher joy, sattvic happiness arising out of kindness, goodness, compassion, arising out of concentration, meditation, if you are not leading you to that experience, then the mind is constantly dealing with negativity. And that's what scriptures described as negative force within you begins to practice austerity. People take it literally, that those demons had such power. They decided to do austerity. They would simply go to a mountain, sit on one foot, rather stand on one foot, or do any type of austerity, unshaken by all temptations. And each time, gods of heaven will give them challenge. And all types of challenges come and the demon remains unshaken. That demon is your negativity in your personality. And it has gained power because of its unwitting austerity. But no matter how much power it has gained, the power of negative is fundamentally zero. Therefore, if you move towards positive, and positive means move towards God, move towards practice of vichar, enquiry, who am I, develop good qualities. If you put yourself in that direction, any effort you do in right direction requires for you to face challenges, because you are so used to be in muck. Moving out of it requires strength of your head, strength of your feet, freedom of your hands. I'm joking, but try to understand that. It requires a lot of challenges. But do not become frustrated or discouraged by severe challenges, because those severe challenges are nothing compared to the negative movement. So you have only two choices: face severe challenges and triumph, or move away from challenging conditions and face the raw dark, hellish hell that is full of noise, cries and miseries from morning till end. That again is given you a picture. People already, they begin to ask, where is that all Nara? It is not outside, it is your own personality. People sit down in their house, they live with their bodies, live with their mind, but the mind is constantly howling. And that type of life is narak. So on one side, narak waits for you, hellish condition. On the other side, challenging movement, allowing you to discover your spiritual strength. So much so that bigger the challenge, you come to a stage of facing it with stronger courage and valor. The word valiant comes from it. Therefore, a wise aspirant should shun all thoughts of objects and direct his mind to Brahman. See how quickly it is said, but it is completely will be misunderstood. There is not a moment you are not thinking of objects. But the saying that should shun all thoughts of objects means don't be fascinated by them. Don't develop the illusion that the objects that you are thinking of, they are reality. Try to understand what makes those objects so powerful is the spirit behind it. And the spirit behind the objects and the spirit behind your personality is one and the same. Think of your dream. In your dream, you are going after objects of the dream world. You yourself are not yourself. Your own personality is an object moving among objects. So therefore, develop a deeper understanding that objects of the senses are not the reality. Deeper reality is your inner peace, inner joy. And that joy cannot be secured by securing objects. No matter how much you have secured objects of the world, you are not secure in your own personality. Any time you can kick the bucket. So then, turning your attention to the Gita's great statement, Dhyayato Vishayan Punsa Sangasteshu Pajayate. By unwittingly thinking of objects again and again and again, there becomes a kind of contact. Mind begins to hold on. Sangat sanjayate kama. Out of that contact, desire arises. First stage, mind becomes so dependent. The idea not to think of the object doesn't arise. And out of that state comes desires. Kamat krodho vijayate. Now you don't live with a peaceful mind that has no desires. But since desires have taken over your mind, and you cannot fulfill them. Now you can go two ways. You can fulfill them according to your understanding, or you will find yourself frustrated. Both ways you are a loser if you are not working with pure intellect. What happens? When you find your desires fulfilled, Gita uses the term krodh. Your mind gets into anger. But it's an allegorical term. It means agitation. Krodh defined as agitation. Something that you have been dreaming of for a long time and suddenly you found it. Now you cannot be at rest. Your mind is agitated. In order to relieve yourself of that agitation, you immediately invite so many people. That's what people generally do. Anytime they have someone getting married, something good is happening in the family, now it has to go viral. You can get as many people you can invite, as much program you make, vast amount of food. Every dish has to be 63 tastes flavored. So, krodhat bhavati sammoha. All this ends up to be burdened by moha, delusion. Whole cloud of delusion now hovers over your mind. You created it, all this. Sammohat buddhinasha. In that state of fog and mist, your intellect doesn't find the right path. It just gets lost. Buddhinashat pranashyati. If you can't utilize your intellect as a human being, you don't allow it to blossom, to work, as a human being, you have missed the chance. You are living without fulfilling the purpose. And that Gita uses pranashyati, you are destroyed. No one is actually destroyed, but this is kind of a scolding. Therefore, turn your attention to the cure. Instead of dhyayato vishayan, dhyayato Bhagavan. If you were to allow your mind to see behind the objects God's presence, a Godward joy, that becomes your mental attitude, you will allow your mind not to be drawn to negativity. Two ways: don't join with those people who are constantly reminding you of things that bring to your mind worry, grief, and anxiety. Do not stay with yourself either. If that is all you are going to think about. Get involved in a kind of act. Allow your life to be active. It should flow with the idea of practicing integral yoga in daily life. No matter how things are, create an internal insistence. Nature is a divine mother. And when you insist, the mother is pleased. Insistence to maintain positivity, not to become frustrated, not to be broken down. So if you continue that way, there will be no agitation. You will not come under the grip of agitation. That's the time you have the real way of understanding yourself, called serenity. moments of serenity in your mind, lifts you to such high level that your greatness or your freedom is not dependent upon anything of this world. No news, nothing of the world. All the calamities of the world one side, and that state, luminosity of the sun one side, all darkness on the other side. So if you allow that way, then there is no buddhi nash. Your intellect continues to move towards viveka buddhi, intuitive intellect. Intuitive intellect means you have opened the window and the light flushes in. That light you didn't create. It was already there. Intuitive intellect allows the revelation to occur. Otherwise, you are constantly dumping upon revelation. What's the truth within you, you are constantly going against it. That's called ignorance, avidya. O Rama, listen to the manner in which Brahma created this world. Again, this is allegorical description. All this meant to help your mind to be positive. After the night of great deluge, when the soul had risen to creatorship as a result of past deeds, found himself in a lotus bed, he first spoke out the name of Brahman. Now, scripture gives you very broad understanding. Every soul is capable to be of the status of Brahma, the creator. But led by countless good karmas, you allow your soul to be in that level. And why you are called Brahma? That as whatever proceeds from Brahman is called Brahma, using that type of interpretation. You have emanated from Brahman. So drawing from Brahman all the energy, Brahma engages himself in creating the world. He created the elements by his will alone. Then, having blended these elements in different proportions, he created the various objects of the world as well as the bodies of different beings. This is an allegorical description to show all has come from Brahman, the Absolute. And let me remind you of some more simplified version. Brahman and Prakriti. Prakriti is the magical power of Brahman. In reality, absolute reality, Brahman alone is. Relative reality, when you are aware of the world, now you look at Brahman not as the reality, but Brahman plus his magical power. That magical power is called Prakriti. Prakriti plays her role in three ways. Sattvic Prakriti is Maya. Brahman qualified by Maya. Brahman through the medium of Maya expresses as three aspects: creator, sustainer, destroyer. Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva. In one word, Ishvara, the Lord of the universe. Same Brahman through Rajas predominating Prakriti, called avidya, ignorance. Brahman manifests as countless souls. There is no limit. Just like the same sun expresses in countless reflections, you can't count them. And every reflected sun is like an individual. It is every reflected sun has its own story. Human minds are like water. Same Brahman is reflecting in that waters of the mind. And that reflected sun is Jiva, individual soul. And same Brahman, through tamas predominating Prakriti, manifests as subtle source of the entire universe, called Panch Bhutas, five subtle elements: ether, air, fire, water, earth. Those elements are allegorical names. They are don't refer to the physical elements. They are subtle souls. Those subtle root letters, root any elements, they go through computation and permutation, the whole process of mixing up. And they give rise to individual mind, individual ego, individual unconscious, individual nerves, individual bones, body, all the three bodies, causal, subtle, physical, are evolved out of the fabric of cosmic matter. And that matter really doesn't matter. It's Brahman behind it. That's the profound study of Vedanta. O Rama, know Brahma to be the mind alone. All this Brahma ability is arising out of the mind of the individual. Same mind in you that can keep you completely individualized and localized. Same mind can enable you to realize, I am everywhere. Same mind can create a whole world of exploring reality, the world of practical reality which you explore. See this world to be nothing but a mental projection. How you are perceiving it, that's one thing. And what the world is, that's another thing. And this, people don't differentiate. How you are perceiving it, that relates to your mind, your senses. Your senses are never perfect. So only your senses are bringing some limited impressions. And then mind itself, it doesn't have that clarity of understanding. So all that you are experiencing in relation to the world is doesn't have authenticity. All this is a play of thought waves of the mind. Just like all that you watch in a cinema show is a play of projections. The screen remains untouched. Behind the projections of your mind, the screen here is Brahman, pure consciousness. This world consisting of mountains and oceans, abounding with numerous living beings, and subject to pleasure and pain, birth and death, disease and age, all this world is like a dream. One must wake up from this dream of the world process. But while dreaming, while experiencing all this, allow yourself to understand that you cannot hold on to any of this world. Allow your mind to develop the spirit of renunciation, renouncing the world of appearance. Brahma, the creator, having reflected upon the misery of the world process, caused by ignorance, attachment, and hatred, then created the scriptures to liberate the souls from the bondage of the world. This allegorical story, how does Ishvara, God, rule over all human beings? How does God control people? Through sages. So, sages gain revelation from God Himself. God is the author behind whatever the sages have written. Therefore, Vedas are not told in the terms of somebody composed them. Even the sages who composed them, they also came from God. Word of God. And the Vedas can hold the remedy for the disease of the world process. There are three types of beings. Mental sons proceeding from Brahma's mind, called Vidyanik. Celestial beings called Devanik. And human beings known as Naranik. Anik means the whole crowd, all society, Anik. Vidhi, Brahma, from Brahma's emanated stage. Devanik, from God, godly plane. Naranik, from human plane. The scriptures bring the same thing in different terms. These are the same as we describe Bhur, Bhuva, Swa. Three lokas. One is in a divine plane, which implies if your intellect were to become purified, your intellect will not go after anything of this world. Because all this is projections. Sharp intellect will go after what underlies all these projections. So that movement is Bhur-Bhuva, Swaha movement, highest loka. highest loka, highest plane, based on your intellectual advancement, not intellectualism. Next, that plane that allows your good qualities to develop. Don't count upon your wealth on the basis of bank account. Count your wealth on the basis of good qualities you possess. Understand it. Don't take it literally, otherwise you'll waste all your money for And next, human plane, where people are focused on the practical reality of life. Practical world of senses, sentimental world of your feeling, world of your understanding. Three planes called three lokas. And most people possess these three worlds in a discordant manner, not in harmony. So therefore they are locos. A sannyasi renounces these three lokas because the reality of your soul is nothing, nowhere in the lokas. But in order to attain enlightenment, you have to understand these three lokas and allow your three stages of your reality to be well handled. Body has to be well handled. Your sentiments have to be well directed. Your insight and intellect has to be well used. All this must be well aligned. That's called purushartha, self-effort. For what? So that you can get out of the entire. Break the illusion of the world. Wake up from the dream. O Rama, by associating with men who are attached to pleasures of the world, one develops desires for objects and becomes deluded. People who do not have inner maturity, they are constantly influenced by others. And therefore, it is easy to be misled in wrong association. But by associating with men of wisdom, now therefore this becomes very important. Satsanga, good association. That's a mantra. Even if you are alone with yourself and the mind is spilling up only negative, this is bad association. Do something, but don't stay under the grip. And there lies the art of life. As you mature, you become internally advanced, then you handle changing conditions in your life without being completely broken up or swayed away. The same tree, well rooted, as it shakes, it allows the root to become stronger and stronger. Shaking of the tree becomes nourishment for the root. On the other hand, if root level is very weak, then even the slightest shaking breaks the whole tree. same negative force we have around you, well handled, with a perfect good perspective, it makes you stronger at your root. Because you begin to understand who handles all this. You look around, see who has handled the earth, the mountains, the ocean, the sky. Who is handling the beak of the beautiful bird? I'm joking, but try to understand. So therefore, do not keep your mind in a state of despair. Allow your mind to be positive. That good association, that must be promoted. And it's well known as type of good association. You come together and listen to the teachings of the scriptures. And with this I will conclude. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.